We have what appears to be almost two unrelated elements of the gospel put side by side by each other in Matthew's gospel. We have this first half of the gospel, which is 6 verses, which we all know the passages very well. Ask and you'll be given, search and you will find, knock and the door will be opened for you, which we know is not just about seeking things for ourselves, it's really seeking the will of God. When we're seeking the will of God, then God will give us good things. When we're seeking evil or things that are not part of that will of God, then perhaps we're not searching or seeking something that's of God. But then we get this other verse, the last verse of our gospel today, which you look at it and you think, how is that related to what we've just heard? Which was, always treat others as you would like them to treat you. That is the meaning of the law and the prophets. It doesn't seem to, it's not much of a segue, you could say. Where is the connection? But I think doing the will of God needs to be at the heart of what the first half of this gospel is. That we're seeking the will of God in all things. And the meaning of the law of the prophets is to do the will of God. And part of that is to see each person as being created in the image and the likeness of God. Treat others as you would like them to treat you. We treat others as seeing them as the image, as being created in the image and the likeness of God. And they're saying to a certain extent that these two are related. We understand the law and the prophets, we understand the Old Testament. And that brings us hopefully to service of others. But service of others is not just to serve the desires of a person. We serve the desires of a person if they are linked with the will of God. If a child wants to eat cake or just eat sugar for breakfast, lunch and dinner, well, that might be a nice idea, but that's not actually serving the other person. Just because they want something doesn't mean that we give it to them. What we're called to do is to help people on that journey to search and discover the will of God, which is the beauty of our faith, but it's also a challenge. Often it's easier just to, especially sometimes with children, if they're a little bit spoiled at times, to just give them what they want. But that's not necessarily the way we want to be treated either. We don't just want to be given the first thing that we desire. What we're called to be doing is desiring the will of God and helping others, hopefully, and others will help me and we help each other to discover that will of God and to live out that will of God in our lives. So on an initial view, we look at this gospel and we say these 2 verses, the first 6 verses and the 1 verse at the end, are completely unrelated. But I think they are very much related. If we're truly to help others, we need to be helping others to do the will of God. When we're asking, how can we do the will of God? When we are searching, we're searching for the will of God. When we're knocking to discover and to open and to be open to the will of God. Let us help others to do this, and let's treat others in the way that we would like to be treated as well. Hopefully they will help us to discover that will of God, and we can help them to discover the will of God.